Hello there, this is Ajit Navlaka, and in this video we are talking about how can you coach someone, how can you be a life coach to someone that is experiencing low self-esteem. Now before we get into how to really help them, let's understand what low self-esteem really means for the context of this video and where it originates from. Low self-esteem is a subjective evaluation of your own worth. It does not have any proof or objectivity to it. This simply means that when we think about ourselves without any objectivity, without any proof, we just think of ourselves as somebody who is not good enough. Somebody who just feels like that, they're not worthy of whatever they get and so forth. So that's really what I mean when I'm talking about low self-esteem in this scenario. Now that is what I really mean when I'm talking about low self-esteem. Low self-esteem happens because of events in our life and then the stories that we keep telling ourselves. And mostly is a function of us telling ourselves some negative self-talk that we started telling ourselves maybe when we were kids or even when we were adults, and we just keep telling ourselves that self-talk, and we keep telling ourselves and keep telling ourselves until it becomes our truth. And because it becomes our truth, now we are in a constant state of low self-esteem. Sometimes it's situational to particular areas of life, and sometimes it is for everything in life. And so one of the countermeasures that you can take as a life coach, as a coach to somebody who you're helping with low self-esteem, is to start to turn their self-talk from something that's negative to something that's more positive. So what we're going to explore in this video is 5 specific techniques that you can use with your clients and for yourself if you're experiencing low self-esteem that will help you get past it, start building your self-esteem. So let's get into these coaching techniques. The first technique that you want to use with your clients is identify the trigger and then limit it. This is what it means. Any emotion, any feeling that we experience in our life is triggered by something. There is an event, there is a person, there's a thing, there is a place that when we go to, we immediately feel that feeling. So let's say, for example, you are a female and you're a female that finds it hard to talk to guys and are not comfortable with it. It may be because you have a low self-esteem in context of how you see yourself, how you see your body, how you see yourself as a person, as something as someone who will not be appreciated by men, hypothetically. And that might mean that when you meet a guy, you may get triggered and start feeling low self-esteem, and hence you start shrinking and hiding in your own shell and stop really being who you truly are. So your self-esteem or your value of yourself or how you see yourself is triggered by an event, something that happens outside of you. In this scenario, it is if you meet a guy or guy that you might like. You immediately are triggered as not good enough, and hence you start feeling low self-esteem. So what do we do? Firstly is the identification of what caused you to actually feel low self-esteem. In this scenario, it's meeting any guy, right? And because that is triggering low self-esteem, what you want to do is you want to go, okay, that's the event that happens that triggers low self-esteem for me. What is it that I can do to limit, A, my exposure to the event itself, in this scenario, meeting guys, and secondly, my outcome or my response to the scenario, right? So you're limiting 2 things, one of the 2, whichever is possible. Now, this example is kind of silly because you don't want to stop meeting guys, right? So that's kind of not possible to put a limit on. But what you can do is you can start to limit the experience that you're having, which means when your client is meeting guys, maybe encourage them to go with pre-decided questions they want to ask or pre-decided conversations they want to have. So what you want to do is try and see if your client can limit the amount of time that they're exposed to this particular person, or if they can limit the impact that it does or has on the person. This simply means that if let's say the trigger event is somebody meets a guy. If that's the trigger event, ask your client, firstly, is it possible that it is not any guy, it's a particular guy that actually triggers this esteem issue? And if it's a particular person, can we limit exposure to meeting this person? Can we somehow say we're not going to meet this person all the time like we are right now? We will meet them occasionally. The reason why we want to limit this exposure of meeting the exact person is because that way we have time to actually start building the esteem of our clients in between the times they have not met this person, because the trigger event hasn't happened. They're not experiencing low self-esteem. They're not starting the negative self-deprecating dialogue, and so they're not in constant state of feeling like they're not good enough and feeling the lack of self-esteem. Instead, we've delayed that to happen by limiting exposure to the person. If the exposure cannot be limited, can we limit the amount of impact that exposure has on us? And this is more a reflective exercise that you can offer to your clients once the impact has happened. So for example, your client meets this particular person, they're feeling low self-esteem, they're feeling really beaten down. Bring them into the practice of saying, why is it that you feel that you're not worthy? What is it that is causing it? Is it really true? Does the person that you met actually suggest that you are not worthy of something, or you are not good enough, or something like that? Or is it a story that we came up with? If it is a story, what is it that we can do to change the story just a little bit today, right? What we're trying to do is we're trying to limit the impact that our clients have of these events. And as the impacts limits, their amount of esteem issues that they're having, or amount of low esteem that they experience also reduces a little bit. And now our practices that we'll do to increase their self-esteem will actually start to take effect and actually have a net positive outcome. The second technique is to actively say to your mind, to your thinking, stop, I am in charge of my thinking, or any variation of these words. The thing that we are trying to do is when we are experiencing low self-esteem, when we are going into that chatter of ours and where we're feeling all the negative emotions and negative thinking, what tends to happen is our brain's just spiraling out of control, right? And it's going on and on and on because we're giving it the space to go on and on and on. When we actually tell our mind, our brains, our thinking to stop and that you are in charge, what happens is suddenly your brain has to stop and let you have the space to have further dialogue. It's a hack to bypass our psychology and our thinking that is going into a negative spiral, because you're starting a new thought pattern, which is to stop the previous one and suggest that you are in charge. And then take charge. Once you've said that to yourself, and you can even verbally say that to yourself if you're in a space where you can, verbally tell yourself, stop, I'm in charge of my thinking. And now ask these questions to yourself. And then start this practice. Firstly, bring awareness to what is the thinking. What is it that is the cycle that's going on? What is it that my brain is constantly telling me to be the truth, even if there is no fact that proves that, right? What is it? And then once the awareness has been brought to this thinking, challenge it. Is it true? Is it actually true that I am not worthy of something? Is it actually true? Can I prove it? Can I find evidence that actually suggests that this is true? Now, be mindful when you ask this question of, can I find evidence? Because your brain's real smart, right? It's going to find the evidence if you will tell it to find the evidence. It's almost like you're asking your brain a rhetorical question. It's like, prove it to me that this is actually true. And then immediately go into saying, I know I can choose my thinking. I can choose, I am in control. Which means if I can choose the thinking of self-talk and negative self-talk, I can also choose the thinking something that creates a more positive, aligned experience for myself. So what if mind, thinking, brain, whatever you want to call it, I chose a positive experience. I chose the positive thinking, and I'm going to expand on that. I'm going to lean into this positive thinking so I can expand my mind and get into a state that is more uplifting. And as you lean into the positive thinking, you will find immediately your client's state changes. They start to go, oh, I can choose a positive thinking pattern here. I can choose this thinking. And if I choose this thinking, this would mean blah, 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 blah. And that is a positive direction of travel, and you've already circumvented your negative spiral, right? So you've stopped the negative spiral by actively telling it to stop and then choosing a positive thinking pattern. The third technique for you to help your clients have better self-esteem management and not have low self-esteem and have high self-esteem as your coaching clients is to ask them to have expectations. And ask them to have expectations and to define these expectations that they have of themselves. More often than not, you will find this for yourself too, is that we go out in the world and we expect an outcome. We never say what that outcome is, but we expect it to happen. Here is what happens, and this may be also your own experience with expectations, right? Most of our expectations are undefined, which means we just say, hey, I want to have great health. But we never really define what great health means. I want to have a flourishing career. What does that mean? I want to make $1 million. What does that mean? Because we never really define those expectations, we actually never really understand what our true expectation is. Most of our expectations become a mirror of somebody else's narrative. who, by the way, is also using somebody else's narrative because they haven't done the work to really identify what does that expectation mean? What does it mean for you to have $1 million in your bank account? What does it mean for you to have a flourishing career? What does it mean for you to have the hottest body? What does it mean blank? If you don't define it, you don't really understand your expectations of yourself. And very often you will find the moment you start defining it, you go, I don't actually want that. I want this, right? I'm more aware, more interested in this. You may not want the $1 million. What you may want is an experience of life in a particular way. And that expectation will reflect differently than wanting the $1 million. That is the same that happens to us when we judge ourselves and tell ourselves a story of how we're not good enough and not good enough and not good enough, is because there is no real benchmark we have set ourselves to know if we are good enough or not. Because we keep telling ourselves that we're not good enough based on some arbitrary expectation that we have put on ourselves without even understanding that if we even want it. So have expectations, but ask your clients to clearly define them. Define what those expectations are going to look like, and then do one more step. Ask them to put an expected timeline to it. Again, you can have the most flourishing career. That may involve $1 million. But do you really expect that to happen tomorrow? Or are you comfortable if it happens in 6 years or 16 years? What is it that it really means? What is that timeline looking like? The reason why we set this timeline is, again, we have huge expectations of ourselves, but sometimes these expectations are lifetime expectations. We want this to happen over the course of lifetime. We are getting frustrated today because it's not happening. So you want your client to not only know exactly what their expectation is, but what is their expected timeline to fulfill these expectations, so they can be a little bit more aware of when they don't have to be frustrated, when they don't have to judge themselves. If you will bring awareness towards what it takes to meet their expectations and the timeline of their expectations, they will be a lot more kind to themselves and not beat themselves up for no reason. The fourth technique I want to share with you that will help you uplift esteem of your clients and help them with their low self-esteem is to journal accomplishments. We journal a lot. And a lot of times you would see, if you're just free writing, you'll write the negative experiences of the day. What happened? What somebody did to me? Why they did to me that way? Instead of that, ask your clients to journal their accomplishments. They need to write down what is the amazing stuff that they did, right? That day, that week, that year, doesn't matter. But ask them to identify accomplishments, small accomplishments, big accomplishments, progress that they have made, accomplishments in comparison to who they were a year ago, 2 years ago, not comparison to somebody else, but themselves. This journaling exercise will remind them on how amazing they are as people, how much amazing stuff they've done in their life, how much progress they've made from themselves a few months, a few years ago. And that will increase their self-esteem dramatically, because they can finally look at the positive that they have done and not just cry about the negative that might have happened as a consequence of growing. We all know that we learn from negative experiences in our life, right? Challenges are a learning opportunity, but we are so scared of challenges. We don't want them. We don't want challenges. We don't want setbacks. We don't want to fall down, but we also want to learn how to get back up. How are we going to learn how to get back up? How are we going to learn how to fly if we are so scared of falling? And that is why it's important for us to reflect not only the fall, but actually the rise. So ask your clients to start journaling their accomplishment. Start journaling on a daily, on a weekly, or monthly basis on things that they did great. The last technique I have for you is a little bit esoteric, but it comes from positive psychology as well. Adopt a mantra. Whatever that mantra can be. I'll give you some examples, but what positive psychology suggests is if you create positive, affirmative narrative in your mind, if you're looking at positive things, you tend to grow faster. You tend to get out of negative loops faster just because your attention is on the positive. And creating a mantra is a great way to always focus on the positive. For example, have a mantra like I'm enough. My friend Marissa Peer talks about it all the time on how just telling yourself that I am enough, writing it on a mirror. You can change the way you approach yourself, how you see yourself. You can change your self-identity dramatically by simply saying I am enough, right? That is a mantra. Your mantra could be I'm passionate, I'm kind, I'm intelligent, I am smart, I am healthy, I'm fit. Whatever that mantra is, something that is positive, affirmative, that helps you and reminds you of the awesome that you are, right? And as you repeat that mantra to yourself, as you repeat that mantra verbally to yourself, if you write it down, you remind yourself by writing in the book, you remind yourself in many different ways, you'll find that your self-esteem goes up and up. I want to tell you one final story about this mantra that I just recalled, which was from a friend of mine. His name is Kamal Ravikant, and he wrote a book called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. It's an amazing book. It's a short book, and it's an amazing book. And what I love about his story is he came from a place where he was really depressed, unhappy, and he made it a practice to just write, I love myself, again and again and again and again and again till his hands hurt. He wrote it thousands and thousands of times, and that really brought him back from depression and anger and frustration and fear and not having meaning in life to being one of the gentlest, kindest, and wildly successful men that I know. So I really invite you to find that mantra for yourself and, of course, help your clients find that mantra, because it might be that secret that will help them go from low self-esteem to knowing that they are enough. So the 5 techniques that we talked about that will help your clients to have a higher self-esteem. Technique number 1, find the triggers and limit them. Second technique, tell yourself, stop, I am in charge of my thinking. Third technique, have an expectation and then define that expectation. Fourth technique, journal your accomplishments. And the 5th technique is to have a mantra. Which of these techniques do you think will work best for your clients? Share with me in the comment section below. If you like this video, hit the like button. Share it with a friend that you find this video useful. If for some reason you haven't subscribed to this channel, go ahead, hit that red subscribe button so we can send you a new video every single week as we publish these amazing videos on this amazing channel called YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Ajit Navlaka, and you're watching this on EverCoach.